Hello and welcome to VetRunner videos. My name is Mike Clare, founder of VetRunner. Now earlier today I spoke to David Ross from David Ross Digital about the dark arts of digital marketing. Now as a veterinary practice owner or manager, it's really important that you market your practice effectively and efficiently. And this is what we spoke to David about today. Now David has worked with veterinary practices for the last 8 or 9 years. He's spoken at veterinary conferences and has contributed to the Veterinary Business Journal. And here's what he had to say. Hello, David. Thank you very much for talking to VetRunner videos.
Hi, Mike. No problem. Thank you for having me.
Just to frame this conversation that we're going to have, if you could just give us an overall insight as to what we're trying to achieve with digital marketing.
Okay, so with digital marketing, essentially the main difference between sort of marketing online and sort of the kind of offline marketing that everyone's kind of used to is digital marketing allows us to sort of hone in on our zero in on our target audience to a level that you just can't do in an offline sense, and that's where its real strength lies. So the sort of comparison we usually have is with so if you're a local practice and you've got you'll probably tried sort of advertising in your local newspaper to your local community to kind of raise people's awareness to the fact that you're there and you're available. Now, there's going to be a certain percentage of people in your local community are going to be pet owners and are going to be interested in your business, but a good chunk of them aren't. And that money that you're spending on that marketing is essentially wasted. But the avenues that are sort of available for digital marketing, and we're including like search engine optimization and social media and things like that, essentially allow us to kind of get very, very specific on, in some levels, not even just pet owners, but the owners of specific pets, if you want to. And it's that kind of that level of targeting is what really opens up a huge door of opportunity. And that's where digital marketing really is its strength.
Superb. Now, obviously, there's a cost associated to marketing, and as to what that cost is, it can be a little bit ambiguous. Some people say that your marketing cost should be about 2% of your turnover. Some say it should be a lot less. Some people say it should be more. But for you as a professional, what is a good marketing budget?
It's a really difficult question because it does very much depend on the practice. And much the same, I've heard similar sort of figures where people have sort of blanket arbitrary kind of numbers, and around sort of 2% is a common one. It's a good sort of anchor point, but really it depends on the sort of the size of your practice, the type of practice you have, the sort of the market that you're targeting to, the local area that you're in. There's a huge range of factors that kind of come into play. So, for example, if we're talking in terms of kind of overall marketing, if you're in a kind of predominantly a more sort of sleepy retirement town, there's a good chance that they're not going to be, or they're going to be. It's going to be a case of they're going to rely more on sort of maybe offline marketing, which is more expensive. Whereas if you're in a kind of a more sort of metropolitan area with a sort of younger clientele, then the opportunities for you from a digital marketing perspective are going to be far wider. That said, there's a couple of kind of factors specifically from a digital perspective that tend to influence overall budgets. So the main one is with digital marketing, it's all about experience and data, essentially. The more digital marketing you do, the more data you accumulate and you can look at, and you can start to really see what's working and what's not, and really start to kind of fine tune everything. So you tend to find that sort of on a broad basis that smaller independent practices and practices when they're just starting out doing digital marketing tend to need to spend a bit more to get the same results as, say, a practice that's been doing digital marketing for a while, just because they've had that time to kind of improve things, and practices that are larger because they're kind of maybe covering a larger area, so they've got a lot more they're collecting a lot more marketing data to use to base that targeting on. But those are the two sort of main factors.
Great. Now, there are those who might know that view digital marketing as a necessary evil, and they throw money into the ether and expect things to happen. But for those people that aren't sort of clued up on it, what can you expect for your money? What return on investment are we looking at? Is there a way you can track it? What represents a good performance?
Yeah. Again, it's what represents a good performance is going to vary on a practice to practice level. But I know what you mean about there's this kind of black box kind of effect of, we throw money at it and hope stuff comes out the other side. I think the key really when it comes to kind of sort of measuring these sorts of things is to really make sure that your marketing, and it goes for all marketing, but digital marketing very, very specifically, is to make sure it ties into specific business goals. If you're marketing, or you're basing all your marketing on specific business goals, then it becomes a lot easier to kind of see exactly what's going on and the relationship that your marketing has and the impact it has. So if you are, for example, if you're a practice and you know that actually having like puppy parties, for example, is a really good way of generating sort of business and bringing sort of new people into the practice. It's like, well, we can. There are ways to know how much a new person, a new client is worth from a business perspective, and you can know how many people are coming to the puppy parties and how many people are then becoming new clients. So you can then look at kind of digital marketing as an avenue for like, well, okay, so how can I increase the number of people coming to the parties? So you could say, all right, well, I'm going to put out some Facebook posts, for example. So you could create a Facebook post, and that Facebook post could then take people to a page on your website that has a little sign-up form to book a place on a puppy party. So all of a sudden there you've got a kind of a very sort of straightforward relationship line from the money you're spending on putting out the adverts to the number of people that are clicking on the adverts, the number of people that are then filling out the form, the number of those sort of people that fill out the form that actually sort of turn up, and the amount of people that then sign up. And that's where it starts to become far more transparent and a lot less kind of this sort of unnecessary evil. It becomes a far more kind of intuitive thing to be getting involved with, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to always map it back to a strategic business goal. And it makes it a lot more simple to know where your money's going, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Devil's advocate question.
Yes.
Why can't I just do it myself?
Well, there's a lot of people can. And if you are so inclined and you find this sort of thing interesting, I would certainly encourage you to. So in my experience, a lot of people tend to get, or they tend to feel that the barrier is more of a sort of a technical one, a kind of a knowledge and understanding sort of barrier. Like it's, especially when it's sort of things like SEO and indeed with social media as well. It's people don't know how these things work necessarily, and it all seems a bit technical and a bit scary. And don't get me wrong, there are technical aspects to it. There's a reason people specialize in these sorts of things, but there's not some crazy barrier to learning these things. If you've got the interest and you have the time, you can sort of very, I'll say easily, it's a very doable thing to kind of learn about these things and start to educate yourself about these things. You don't need to go to university and do another degree just to figure out how to market your business on social media. So it is very accessible. It's a lot more accessible in those sorts of terms than people maybe give it credit for. That being said, the real barrier that prevents people or really scuppers people is more a time and resources barrier. The technical expertise, you can, I think, anyone who's running their own vet practice and is a vet, you're going to be in a position where you can technically learn what you need to learn to do digital marketing. But finding the time that you need to dedicate on a regular basis is the other one. That's far harder. There's already a lot of pressure on vets in terms of their time. And you really have to kind of look at it, is this really a wise investment of my time and energy compared to outsourcing it to somebody else? That tends to be the thing, because you're talking, it's not unreasonable to expect a practice to be dedicating 20, maybe 30 hours a month, to just managing their digital marketing. And that's just on a very basic level. You can extend it to beyond that if you really wanted to. But if you've got that time and you've got that interest, then I'd certainly encourage you to go for it. But as I say, I don't know many vets that can commit that sort of level of time on a regular basis. And the regular basis is a very key part, because it's you've got to be able to maintain it especially with sort of social media. You build up. Social media is all about engagement and communicating with your sort of client base and your audience. So it's all well and good if you're very active for 1 month, but if you then disappear for a month, it's you're going to really struggle, basically. So that's where the barrier really lies.
So would you say it's more of a happy marriage of outsourcing it from a time perspective to the professionals, and then maybe from a client bonding point of view, have a champion of social media in the practice, kind of do them easily?
Certainly. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. The reality is what you end up with is some kind of mix. So as to where you set that kind of dividing line will again depend on you and your practice. But again, it's not uncommon to have, say, somebody in the practice that's sort of taking photos of what's going on, and just kind of sort of creating kind of content. So a lot of people, they'll tend to kind of maybe write their own blog posts in their practice and things like that. And then the sort of the more technical side or the management side of the digital marketing, so how all that content is then used, is then taken on by a professional who can kind of make sure you get the most sort of bang for your buck, basically. But yeah, you're right. It's all about how you kind of divide the various tasks that come into it. Because there's the other thing with digital marketing, and I think this ties back into what you're saying about this whole, it's just this sort of black box aspect to it. It's a far broader subject than a lot of people maybe give it credit for. There's a lot of different facets. So you may end up finding that either yourself as a practice manager, or maybe somebody on your team actually is very good and enjoys doing certain aspects of your digital marketing and being involved. But yeah, in most cases, even when you're outsourcing it, you're very much, it's a team effort. It's a relationship of everyone working together.
Super. Well, it's been really, really interesting to get the perspective of a professional in terms of digital marketing. So thank you. But just as as an overview, what would you say is what do you think is really important for people to know that are watching this? What's the take-home point?
The biggest take-home point, well, other than the point about sort of always tying it into your business goals, is absolutely paramount. No matter sort of which way you set it up. If you're one of those practice owners that wants to kind of take a lot of the social media marketing and the digital marketing sort of and take it on yourself, and this is predominantly to do with sort of social marketing. A lot of it is the biggest sort of tip I have is to just make sure you plan ahead. So a lot of people get tied up in this whole thing of they're constantly searching for something to put out onto social media or whatever. and you sort of, you hunt around in the morning, try and find something, you post it out to social media, and then that's you kind of forget about it for 24 hours, and then the next day comes and you're back in the same position. The pros tend to, what they do is they plan stuff out ahead, months and months in advance, so they always know what they're going to be posting and when. If you plan stuff out ahead, you can always adjust it on the day if you need to. So if something specifically happens and you want to kind of move things around, that's always possible. But it just means if you're planning ahead, you kind of what you've got coming up, and it's a lot easier when you're kind of trying to batch these things up and do things in batches. It makes it a lot easier to digest.
Superb. So plan ahead, align to a business goal, and it seems to be very much a team effort with staff on the ground and professionals. Fantastic take-home points. David, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for talking to VetRunner Videos.
Nice, thank you very much.
Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that particular VetRunner video. Now, the point of VetRunner Videos is twofold. Firstly, to get an overview of the industry as a whole, and we do that by interviewing key opinion leaders from all parts of the industry. So over time, we're going to be covering topics such as pet insurance, regulations, corporate practice, etc., and anything that you really want to know more about. So if there's a particular topic that you're interested in or want me to speak to a particular person, then please let me know. And of course, the other aspect is dealing with various aspects of veterinary practice. We spoke to David today about digital marketing. Anything else that is particularly important to you, please let me know. And again, please don't forget to like us on our social media channels and subscribe to VetRunner Videos. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.